And a very, very good afternoon to all of you out there. You have once again entered the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And guess what? It's that time. You know what time it is. It's time for new comics, bitches! So, let's get down to it. We're going to start with some shorties. Well, not really shorties. But the books that I don't have with me, so I can't directly reference them, but I took notes because I'm just that thorough. Just not too long ago, we talked about Avengers 12.1. Now, I might actually get back into the Avengers, and I thought, well, you know, it might be a worthwhile, grab. Basically, yes, that's exactly what I did. I grabbed Avengers number 13, and this is one of those Bendis books that bothers the hell out of me. Where there's a lot of good material and dialogue, but story-wise, it doesn't go anywhere. And it's just talky. I mean, in this particular issue, I mean, that's literally all you're treated to is, well, not literally, but for the most part, what you're treated to throughout this issue is like these talking head moment interviews. These like video interviews from the different Avengers, talking about things, they're trying to bring up topics from, ranging from obviously, the Civil War, to the Kree-Skrull War, Korvac, things like that. And but what the main crux of the questions seem to be about, and what the book has most specifically to do with, are the events of Siege, and obviously now the events of Fear itself, because this is pretty much a direct tie-in to Fear itself. It goes into, and there's, some funny, there's, obviously, Bendis has really a lot of love for Spider-Man, and usually reserves the funniest moments for Spider-Man, and just he knows how to write Spider-Man really well. But I can't imagine anybody throwing up in their mask. That's just me. Unless they're really inept. I mean, Spidey's been doing this for a while. You'd think he'd figure, okay, well, I can, at least take this part up if I'm gonna hork. So, whatever. But the idea is that it's supposed to be funny and charming, when it's, it's kind of like, really? There's, there are funny bits here and there. They're peppered around through the comic, and then it all of a sudden turns into an episode of Sex and the City, which to me is just, anathema. There's nothing good that will possibly happen about that, because basically it's, they talk about, the beginning of Fear itself, and that, Stark has pledged himself to, rebuild Asgard, which Luke Cage is really not too pleased about, because he realizes that there are places that are actually on Earth occupied by humans that need rebuilding. That's one of the things that I like most about Luke Cage, is that he is the one who is the most grounded of all of the Avengers. He's the one that actually thinks, it's like, hey, let's maybe work on Earth for a little while, as opposed to keeping all of our dreams, so far out of our reach, or at least, further out of, what I'm getting at. There's the banquet in which Miss Marvel is being hit on by Volstagg, and Spider-Woman is flirting with Hawkeye. It's like, and because they're both, and then they both end up talking about how much they want to date people, and it's like, what the heck, what? I mean, I get it, I mean, okay, I understand that, that the dating life is, something that's not really too touched upon in teen books. But, I mean, it seemed like that went on for a really long time. But, and Spider-Woman seems to really have a thing kind of lined up already with Hawkeye. Because, Hawkeye, of course, has the rather enviable feat of not only being the world's greatest marksman, but also one of the world's premier, himbos as far as as far as guys, as far as the superhero hookup. It's like he's up there apparently with Daredevil, with guys who can just get chicks like that. And so it was, and the issue seems to actually take place, I think, in the past tense, because why would they all be sitting around talking about the events of Fear itself if it's still actually going on? They would, I mean, because if you've been reading Fear itself, there's a lot of really crazy shit going on out there. So this would not be a good time to sit down and talk. This would be a time to fight. So I think that, this is actually being done beyond Fear itself. That's what I got out of it. Anyway, it's just, it wasn't a good book, and I'm kind of pissed off at myself for kind of getting back into it. So that's being dropped like a hot potato, because, there's other Bendis stuff which is a lot better, and I don't feel that I need to waste any more time on this. Which is too bad, too, because 12.1 was a really, really, really good comic, and this was so just meh. It was so, not poor, but just, we know that he's better than this, and this whole issue just seemed like it was filler, and so that I have a problem with. Anyway, X-Men Prelude to Schism, number 2. This is more of Cyclops standing alone, looking at what he's about, or thinking about what he's about to face, and, dealing with the people that he would trust most, not necessarily trust most, but who could maybe give the best advice. And this particular, last issue is Professor X. This issue, it's Magneto. And Magneto talks a lot about, his family, his father specifically, who was a hero in the First World War. He figured that would be, he'd be a proud son of Germany. And then, of course, Hitler comes into power, and, the whole fucking world changes for, the Eisenharts, who are Jews. And, talks about when Magneto first really kind of got his powers, when they first manifested, and also, dealing, and how Magneto has always really respected Cyclops for being the one who kind of stared him down the first time that they fought, and harkens back to that. This is a really cool series, even though it is just standing around talking and reminiscing. It's a really fascinating glimpse into the psyches of everybody involved. So that I'm really, really enjoying. Because I would almost rather see a really well done character book than a whole bunch of little moments. So, I don't know. That's me. That's kind of where I go with that. Paul Jenkins has been one of those kind of on and off writers, so we'll see how this turns out. I'm hoping that it will go in a really cool direction. You know, whatever Schism is going to end up being, I don't know, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the X-Men universe right now that I'm just, you know, starting to catch up with. So, giant size X-Men, I guess #1. Even though it's not really the #1. I don't know if this was numbered. Maybe it was #2. I don't know. But anyway, and you have basically, you know, again, you know, this is really Cyclops centric, because again, all fucking hell is breaking loose on Utopia. This group that calls themselves the Neo, who are apparently more evolutionarily advanced than Homo superior. What I don't know. I have no idea. I've never heard of these guys. Apparently they fought before, but I've never heard them mentioned before. Again, I don't read X-Men a whole lot, so I don't know. But and then all of a sudden, you know, boom, you know, Psych has got a massive headache, and he's starting to flash back to events from the past, from one of the first times that they actually fought, well, not one of the first times, but, you know, one of the times that they were fighting, you know, the original 5 were fighting the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and also were fighting the Sentinels. You know, and there's, you know, a point where Professor X pretty much orders them to pull back, because the Sentinels would eventually have killed them. There's no way around that. And, you know, but they had pretty much accomplished their mission of stopping Magneto from getting his hands on another stockpile of weapons. So it's, you know, again, ideologies kind of clash between Cyclops and Professor X. Not really clash, but there's definitely, you know, a discussion to be had. And then all of a sudden, these massive beings come into play that call themselves the Evolutionaries. And I don't know. I'm assuming they're new. Again, there's a lot of assumptions being made here. But and they seem to be destined to protect the existence of Homo superior. So, but in a pretty scary, fucked up way. That's what I'm not really getting. Are these guys actually engineers of evolution? I'm not sure. That's the whole thing. Is that they feel that in order for each new evolutionary leap, that the one preceding them has to be destroyed, has to be wiped off the planet. So, I don't know. All I know is that I'm really interested in what's going on here. Christopher Yost, who wrote this, really did a really good job with, you know, really amping up a lot of drama and a lot of excitement, building up to what's, you know, going to come next. So, who knows? X-Men may be on the pull list next time. So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, because X-Men has gone, you know, it's usually, you know, around, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's usually around maybe a 6. At best, like an 8. You know, I shouldn't say at best. You know, at best, you know, like during the Claremont Byrne years, that was like 10. But then it would go back down to, you know, a 6 or a 7, and sometimes it would drop way below that, like in the Claremont Lee years, or in the 90s, I should say. But anyway, so this looks really cool, and I'm looking forward to the continuation of this particular story, and if it leads into where this is all going, this big events for the X-Men. Okay, so stay tuned. We're coming back with more reviews. Be right back.